The next great superpower conflict may never begin with soldiers crossing borders or missiles lighting up the night sky. There may be no formal declaration of war, no invasion broadcast live across television networks, no single moment that historians can point to as the beginning. Instead, the next global conflict is already unfolding quietly inside financial systems, semiconductor supply chains, payment networks, sanctions architecture, trade corridors, and digital infrastructure. Because modern power has evolved, military dominance still matters, but in the 21st century, the most devastating weapon is increasingly economic dependency. The ability to cut nations off from technology, liquidity, manufacturing capacity, energy access, and global financial circulation without firing a single bullet. And what makes this transformation dangerous is that most people still interpret geopolitics through the logic of traditional warfare, while the real battlefield has already shifted beneath them. The original Cold War was built around military deterrence and ideological confrontation. The United States and the Soviet Union competed through nuclear stockpiles, proxy wars, espionage, and political influence. But today's world is economically interconnected in ways the 20th century never experienced. Rivals trade with each other. Supply chains overlap across continents. Technology ecosystems depend on components manufactured by geopolitical competitors, which means direct military conflict between major powers now carries catastrophic economic consequences for everyone involved. And that changes strategy entirely. Because when open war becomes too destructive to sustain, nations search for pressure mechanisms that remain below the threshold of military escalation. And this is where economic warfare becomes extraordinarily powerful, because the modern global economy operates through interconnected systems that are not politically neutral. Payment networks, reserve currencies, banking infrastructure, shipping insurance, semiconductor manufacturing, cloud computing, all are controlled disproportionately by a small number of countries and institutions, which means controlling infrastructure allows nations to weaponize access itself, not through destruction, but through exclusion. Modern sanctions function less like diplomatic punishments and more like economic siege warfare. Freeze access to global banking systems, restrict dollar clearing, block technological imports, prevent energy financing. Suddenly, an entire economy begins slowing from within. Factories lose access to components. Banks struggle with liquidity, currency stability weakens, industrial growth collapses gradually rather than explosively, and unlike traditional wars, the infrastructure remains physically intact while the economy itself begins suffocating. At the center of this system sits the United States dollar, not merely as currency, but as infrastructure. Because global trade, energy markets, debt markets, and international settlements still operate heavily through dollar-denominated systems. Military power wins wars. Currency power shapes decades. Most people never think about how international money actually moves, but behind every cross-border transaction lies financial messaging infrastructure like SWIFT. A nation disconnected from global financial infrastructure experiences something close to economic isolation in real time. This is precisely why China has spent years constructing alternative financial systems, cross-border payment infrastructure, digital currency experimentation. Because China understands a fundamental strategic reality: dependency creates vulnerability. And in a future economic conflict, whoever controls the infrastructure controls the pressure points. But the most important battlefield in the economic Cold War may not be finance. It may be semiconductors. Because advanced chips now power everything: artificial intelligence, military systems, cloud computing, telecommunications. Semiconductor dominance increasingly determines national power itself. And at the center of the semiconductor world sits Taiwan, a single island producing some of the most advanced chips on Earth, which creates one of the most dangerous strategic dependencies in modern history. If semiconductor flows are disrupted, entire industries across the global economy begin slowing almost immediately. This is why technology restrictions have become central to geopolitical competition. Export controls on advanced chips, AI hardware, lithography machines. Because denying access to frontier technology can slow a rival's economic and military development without direct confrontation. The battlefield is computational capability. For decades, globalization optimized supply chains for efficiency. Components moved wherever production costs were lowest. But geopolitical rivalry is now reversing that logic, because efficient dependence becomes dangerous during strategic conflict. Supply chains are transforming from economic systems into national security assets. Then comes another hidden layer: rare earth minerals, essential for batteries, weapon systems, and advanced electronics. Control over these materials creates enormous geopolitical leverage because industrial systems cannot function without them. And once again, dependency becomes weaponizable. Energy has always been geopolitical, but in the economic Cold War, energy systems become pressure mechanisms: oil exports, gas pipelines, LNG shipping. Entire economies depend on uninterrupted energy flow. Controlling energy access allows nations to influence rivals without military escalation. Artificial intelligence is accelerating this competition even further, because AI increases the strategic value of data centers, semiconductors, cloud infrastructure, and energy capacity simultaneously. The future superpowers may not simply be nations with large armies, but nations capable of sustaining massive computational ecosystems. And unlike previous geopolitical eras, corporations now sit directly inside the battlefield. Tech giants control cloud infrastructure. Logistics firms influence trade movement. Semiconductor companies determine computational access, which means multinational corporations are no longer merely economic actors. They are geopolitical infrastructure. The world is not deglobalizing completely. It is fragmenting selectively, competing technology ecosystems, competing payment systems, competing energy alliances, competing AI infrastructures. And slowly, the single interconnected global economy is beginning to split into overlapping geopolitical spheres. The new Cold War is not about destroying cities. It is about controlling systems, financial systems, technological systems, manufacturing systems, energy systems. Because in the modern world, whoever controls circulation controls power. And the most dangerous conflicts of the future may never officially be called wars at all. Make sure to subscribe to Learning BizCraft for more strategic teardowns.